I feel like this is good. Testing, testing. Testing, testing. All right. And we are alive. Okay? We're alive and we're alive. Bullshit jobs. All right? That's what we're talking about. Consider this. Why does the economy suck? Why do you get paid less and less every year because of inflation? Why don't your bosses, the companies that control your jobs, the corporations, why do they not increase your pay with inflation? It's because your job is not actually that valuable. Right? What happens when people are valuable? They get pay rises. They get more people. They get more people. Sorry, they get more money per year of their job because their job is necessary and the company makes, let's say, money because they exist. You uh, are replaceable, right? And the only thing saving you from complete, uh, annihilation economically is the minimum wage, right? And now that minimum wage doesn't mean that the job you're doing is actually worth that much money, right? And this is for most people, right? Most people get paid minimum wage. That's kind of the way it is. Not every job can be valuable. There's not enough value to be provided, really, because there's not enough people going around trying to find things that are actually valuable. They're not trying to create real value. So you don't really get much value out of this world. But because everything runs on cash flow and consumers need cash so they can buy things and corporations can make money, and then, all of that fun stuff can happen. The cycle of cash flow can continue. For that to occur, you need a job, right? And so you have to just create jobs, right? Not all of them, and you have to create a minimum wage so that people actually can pay rent. And the Federal Reserve needs to pay debt, and so they'll print more money, which means your money will be worth less. And that's just the way it is. Everybody knows this at this point. It's not some big secret. That's just the way it works, and we can't really do anything about it. So it's like, okay, what do you do? Right? You get a job anyway, and you try to pay your bills. But your job is worth less than it was last year, and that was worth less than it was the year before. And you're not getting pay rises because, well, anyone can do your job, right? So you end up doing jobs that don't really amount to anything. They don't provide any real value to the company, any real value to the world. There was a book called Bullshit Jobs, and that's why the title of the video, the live, is what it is, right? Most people consider their job, the tasks they complete, to be absolutely useless, and that the company that they work for could actually do without them. But they won't say it out loud because then the company might start getting some ideas, you know? Because people need to pay rent. and people want to get married, and people want to go on holiday, and people want to afford a car and food. People want to have babies. So these things need to happen so that they can do those. It's not like thousands of years ago. If you live in the forest, you have a baby, and if you find enough food and you find some place secure from all the predators that could eat you, you're all good. No, y- the baby will just just shit on the floor. But now you need diapers, or someone will call CPS, Child Protective Services, and you need all of these things just so you can live, right? And the economy needs to provide for that because you pay the government taxes with what money you make from your job, and they're supposed to take care of you for that money. But they are not. In fact, the opposite is happening. But what I'm going to tell you is that as much as other people are at fault, as much as the economy's in the tank and things are getting worse, it's still your fault, right? And it starts from you, right? You have to stop being comfortable doing things in futility, right? It's like that infinite elk intensity. It's like exercises in futility. That's where I got the title, Economics of Futility, right? If you're okay doing something that's basically useful for money, A, you're not going to be very motivated. You're not going to believe in it. And so, therefore, you know, if you find yourself doing something that you don't believe in, that pays just enough for you to get by, um, you really don't care. It's never going to motivate you. And it kills a part of you, right? Because it's like what you're doing is useless, and the majority of what your colleagues are doing is useless, and it makes you realize that basically every job is useless, or at least most of them. And the prediction is like 70% of jobs are useless. 70%. Right? They don't provide anything for society. They, they don't allow anything good to occur. Right? It's like, what good are you creating for the world with the job that you're doing? Right? If you're doing a service job, sorry to say, but you're being paid off the laziness of others. That's not progress. That's regression in a way. It doesn't provide any real value. Maybe it saves 20 minutes out of people's day because you're doing something that they could do. Maybe, you're saving them time training with certain equipment. It's but maybe you are. Maybe you have a coffee place next to what do you call it? A, a scientific lab, and you got to keep those doctors up. You know, make them work and keep them focused. Maybe it's a coffee place next to a hospital. Maybe I'm wrong. Let me not decide what's useless. I let you come to that conclusion yourself. But that's the point. I'm a little sick. And that doesn't just stop in the workplace. You expand further every time you have a bit of motivation. Let's talk about motivation. And you do something useless. What do you think happens to that motivation? It quickly and it swiftly dies. You know, you've ever been motivated to do something, right? and then you start doing something to do the thing, and you realize that that task that you did is so laborious and tedious that you know it sucked out the energy from you, right? You didn't need to do it. Like, let's say you're trying to clean the kitchen, but you end up, start doing the grouting, and you're like, well, I didn't need to do that. Start applying silicone. You're like, well, that's not part of the cleaning, but it might make the kitchen a little better. But it's like, now you got a little more mess, and like, all right, I'll do it later. You know, it's like trying to keep a clean place, and then instead of picking up the garbage from the day before, you start sanitizing the picture frames with great detail. It's like, is that really useful to whatever you're doing right now? And it's like, the answer is no, not really. And you'll find yourself in a lot of situations where the thing you're doing, you have to really think about whether it's really useful or not. And that leads into what? Why am I talking about this? I'm always talking about content and insight. Why is this important? Um, Sometimes you fool yourself into doing bullshit to make you feel like you're actually doing something important. And the reason for that is because doing something important is really hard. It's really difficult. And to be actually useful is to put yourself out there and risk failure. And to risk failure is to risk the ego, which is incredibly upsetting. And it can be for most people. Someone left their phone charging next to me, and now it is ringing, and I'm not going to touch it. But, anyways, sometimes you get lost in like maybe you've got like a task to do, and you start like, right, maybe you want to make a video, right? But the first thing you do is start creating folders for each part. Start organizing folders in your computer for whatever reason, for whatever there could be a folder for later, just for organization's sake. You start doing that first, and it takes you a week to do it. And then you've made zero progress, right? And then, in fact, the folders you made, raw footage, edited footage, branding logo. I've done this before. I tried creating a YouTube channel, and the first thing I did is create about 50 folders and organize them for everything I could possibly need instead of just making videos. It's part of the reason why I'm using this approach for this channel. Do first, figure out later. It's the best way because doing is actually infinitely more valuable than thinking of doing or preparing to do. You shouldn't prepare, you should just jump in. And because doing the actual thing can lead to quite a bit of despair through failure and just pure difficulty of task. We delude ourselves into thinking that we are actually doing something useful and get a little dopamine out of doing useless tasks. I probably felt great and seemed like I did a lot of work by simply just making a bunch of folders. Right? I made a bunch of folders, and I'm like, all right, this is great. This is really coming together. What had I accomplished? I had named a bunch of useless folders that never got used because my motivation to do the thing died because I had made myself, uh, I had given myself the dopamine I needed by just making folders and then denying myself any sort of negative feeling by then not doing the thing I wanted to do because that could have resulted in failure. But the chances that I'll fuck up a folders is very low. So I spent a lot of time making sure those folders were just right. Do first, organize later. Especially if you have a problem with that. I mean, if you've done before and you understand the you know the use of organizing, you don't even know why you need to organize. If you know why, then you have a process down. You know what you're gonna do. That is different. But if you're beginning something, right? Because like if you're already useful, it's a different story. But to 70% of the people out there, if you're useless, beware of the economics of futility. A lot of things, a lot of people are just useless. All right? And that's just something that's true. I think you had a phone call. I think you had a phone call. The phone was ringing. Sorry? Yeah, someone's calling. No worries. Appreciate it. Well, oh, that's that. Good Samaritan. Let her know. Did she say thank you, my friend? I guess I made it right. Do not waste your time on useless things, right? They may feel good, they may pay the rent, and if you are stuck in a position where you need to be there, plan your escape right now for the greater good of you and the people around you, your hopes and dreams, and quite frankly, um, the universe. Society as a whole depends on you adding to it instead of being a leech. And by being useless, not even trying to be a leech, not even, it's not even like you're trying to be a leech, by simply not adding to society, you are engaging in unintentional leeching. We've all done it, all right? It's nothing to be ashamed of. But now that you know, now that I've told you, now that I've opened up Pandora's box, sorry, but you had to know, you zero persons, whoever watches this, whoever does. I mean, eventually this will all be privated anyway, so this message is limited. That is the truth. The economics of futility, right? And you wonder why the economy goes in a dump every time. We expect the government, expect corporations to make jobs. You know what? Like this is what Elon Musk did, right? Like he fired 70% of Twitter staff and named it X, right? And X is running just fine. In fact, I saw today that X had hit an all-time high user record. Um, And that's insane. It's a 5% higher than the previous figure, which is kind of insane growth. And I think the highest figure was last year as well, when Elon Musk came into power at X, or Twitter at the time. And it's working fine. One of the largest tech companies in the world, right? Everybody knows Twitter. Everybody knows X. One of the largest companies in the world had 70% useless workers. 70% of the workforce was absolutely useless. Now that is an actual company that people care about, that provides them with a useful service. Imagine what that means for every single other company out there. If we are being leeches, we are a burden on the economy, right? And it's like I'm actually interested. Does a company get taxed on wages? Well, if it's a large company, they'd rather, you know, have a useless worker than pay taxes, because fuck taxes. I mean, pay your taxes, but fuck taxes, you know? I feel like I'd like taxes a lot more. I'd respect taxes if if um if there was more transparency into how that money was being used. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? I just had a intense think about that. Yeah, like taxes are a great system that's shrouded in mystery, and each year you pay more and more. All right, before this gets overly political, I don't have much more to say. It's simple. A lot of jobs are useless. Provide more to society. It is our responsibility to do that. Unfortunately, we just have to, because it affects us as a whole. If we do not care for it, no one else will. And so, you know, consider it a form of charity to the world by providing actual value to it, right? And of course, there will be leeches, and it's not like that's a bad thing. Sometimes, you know, you need creators and you need consumers, but it's just so happens that we have way more consumers than we have creators, and we need more creators at this time, not just content creators. Like my goal is not to just become a content creator. There's other things at play, which will um, remain undisclosed. We're learning a lot here, guys. We're learning a lot, and yeah, I don't have much else to say. Do more. Do more useless. Do more useful things. If you do more useful things, good things will happen. We're bringing it back. If you do useful things, good things will happen. and then like the economy gets better, and like it's good for the economy, and like just like you get to pay less on your taxes, and um, you know, crime decreases. If you if you actually provide value to society, crime will go down. Do you understand that? Okay, I'm gonna hop off. This was real. This was fun. Um, yeah. Consider everything you do in your day, and think about what it actually achieves. And if you ever do something that makes you feel good, that makes you feel like you've done something, break it down. Why does it make you feel good? Is it actually useful? And could you have done something else with your time that was perhaps more useful? And this is not, an exercise in self-hate. This is a reflective exercise. This is rehabilitation for the broken mind. A mind broken by excessive futility, by outside forces imposed upon it. What are you supposed to do when there's not much value out there? You have to create it. That's a very difficult thing, and unfortunately, nobody out there really teaches you how to create real value. And most people would rather just copy. Um, Nobody wants to do the hard work. You know, that's why economy is based off of like labor really work well, right? And then we started getting into computers, right? And that kind of sucked because you can measure the value of how much uh, someone provides you by how much coal they can mine up in an hour, right? What's the value of making spreadsheets and emails? You know that answer questions you could just ask someone and they'll tell you. Hmm. What's the value in stacking shelves slightly differently every day for customer psychology, you know, and how they where they look in the store first. That's like a thing, right? Uh, Supermarkets are always hyper aware of where attention goes to first and how purchasing decisions can be affected by placing things in a certain order. What's the what's the value in you daily moving those around so that people buy more for a corporation that refuses to pay you as inflation increases? It's all complicated, but it's not my job to decide. You should consider yourself. I've kind of started rambling, so I'm just gonna hop off before I say anything too offensive to a type of job. There's a lot of useless jobs out there. The service industry is interesting because it is useful, and technically, people could just do that by themselves. All it does is save time, and you know, why do you have to greet douchebags with a smile just for a 20% tip? It's kind of I consider that a lot. Anytime I go to a place, like, you don't have to be so nice. Just, it would be okay if you just had a resting bitch face and just got me my food. Like, I'd be cool with that. I wouldn't blame you. In fact, you know, I'm kind of angry that you're smiling at me for no reason. I don't know you. Why are you wasting so many calories? Keeping your mouth like this bothers me. Anyways, be good, do good things, do useful things. I'm gonna add that for today, and subscribe, and I'll see you tomorrow.